All right. So thank you, Chris. My name is Grant Verploeg, and I looked at the severity of US traffic accidents and their influencing factors. So a little bit about me to start. I'm born in Steamboat, graduated from GW in 2018 with a degree in finance. And after that, worked at a marketing consulting firm in DC. Really had the introduced me to the power of data and its ability to tell a story. And with that experience, it really drove me to Galvanize. So for my analysis, I looked at US car accident records from 2016 to 2020 that contained over 3.5 million accidents. And they included a variety of different features, such as the amount of precipitation, the temperature, and whether a street signal was present. So the goal of this really was to help emergency services identify the key elements of severe accidents and understand the trends of where and when they're most needed. So a little bit about the data to start. This map on the right shows the proportion of severe accidents by total accidents in each state. One thing I learned early on was that the features of an accident in Florida, for example, are vastly different from an accident in Wyoming. Florida's urban, it's hot. Wyoming's rural, it's cold. So using kind of these insights, I grouped these states into their specific regions on the left. Next, I wanted to see the breakdown of the accidents by the time of day. So the top chart in the blue shows the total amount of accidents by each time throughout the day. Here you can see kind of there's these peaks in the morning and the evening, kind of during rush hour times. This is kind of expected, more cars are on the road. The chart below shows the percent of severe accidents by time of day. So here there's kind of an inverse relationship during these rush hour times, and then an increase in percent during these early morning and late night hours. So these insights really guided my model considerations, starting with feature engineering. Just from that previous slide, I created a new feature, whether the accident occurred during rush hour or didn't. Next, I looked at class imbalance. So out of the 3.5 million, only 108,000 were classified as severe. So I undersampled from that non-severe class in order to balance those out. And then lastly, I really wanted to focus on interpretability, finding models that can easily explain themselves. So looking through that lens of interpretability and then zoning in on a specific region, this one being the Rockies, I started with a logistic regression. Immediately found some top features being wind speed, accidents occurring on the opposite side of the road. However, this model had poor results. It had poor accuracy, poor recall. So I wanted to understand why. So on the right, I did a principal component analysis, which is a dimensionality reduction method. It shows clusters of samples based on their similarities. So here you can see severe and non-severe are pretty mixed. Ideally, for a logistic model to be accurate, you'd see a clear line or plane that would distinguish those two classes. However, that's not the case here. So we can see that nonlinear differences are present. Next, I wanted to look at another interpretable model, a decision tree, which is a flowchart like tree structure where each node or bubble represents the feature or question being asked. Each branch represents the outcome, and each terminal node represents whether the majority of those samples were either severe, non-severe, or mixed. So a decision tree really, they build upon prior conditions. They're greedy algorithms in the fact that they make choices that are best at that moment. However, that being said, each of these rush hour, during the weekend, side of the road, they all had a strong relationship toward severity. Next, I wanted to see what was important. So I compared the decision tree to a better performing model in terms of its predictive power, this being the random forest. So this plot just shows the overlapping important features between the two, shown in red. I wanted to zone in on two of those features that were continuous, wind speed and humidity. So this shows a partial dependence plot to show the marginal effect that they had. So as humidity is less than 20%, severity increases. And when wind speeds are greater than 10 miles per hour, severity increases as well. Lastly, some conclusions and recommendations. Overall, kind of performed a variety of models to get this complete picture. Each one gave me a different piece. So that logistic and the decision tree really gave me that interpretability, while the random forest gave me that better performing model in terms of its predictive power. Again, difficult to generalize features across the entire country, needing to zone in on one. So then what recommendations can be made to make staffing more effective within the Rockies region specifically? So emergency services should be aware that accidents have a highly likelihood of being severe during the weekend, late night hours, and not during rush hour. And then when wind speeds are high and then humidity is low. Another Important feature that I saw was that there were high accident occurrences on the opposing traffic side of the road. So one recommendation would be for state or local officials to maybe adding physical barriers between those lanes, maybe more street lighting to prevent those collisions from really happening in the first place. That's really it. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.